The Resident Evil 4 remake is finally here, and it's looking fantastic. Reviews are high and the fan base is happy. So, from the more fast-paced gameplay to the new and beautiful HD graphics, here is what to expect from the updated gameplay and graphics of the Resident Evil 4 remake. Being a modern-day HD remake means that this game had a lot to live up to. Just look at the previous two remakes. There's so much that goes into them, and the developers spent a significant amount of time crafting them into what they are. The thing is, though, they had to keep things as faithful to the original as possible. However, this didn't stop the developers from making some significant changes to the title's gameplay. After all, Resident Evil 4 came out in 2005, and gaming has changed quite a lot. Gone are the days of tank controls and slow control. Modern-day gaming is full of smooth movement and fast-paced gameplay. The Resident Evil 4 remake, therefore, made a lot of substantial changes to the third-person shooter combat system from the original version of the game. For Resident Evil 4, that meant adapting what came before it in the Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 3 remakes. But what changed exactly? Well, quite a lot, actually. The old movement system is gone, as the remake allows Leon to be much more mobile. The game allows him to keep moving whilst aiming his weapons as well. This is so significant, and we don't mean that lightly. Have you looked at the original game? It was very clunky. People do love the old tank controls, but this new movement system is so much better. The mobility has also extended beyond moving and shooting as well, as Leon can now vault over low cover and even leap from rooftops to escape enemies. God, it's just so much better, isn't it? Resident Evil 4 was already action-packed, but this sounds incredible.
Finally, some peace and quiet.
Even with all the changes, though, the game does stay faithful to the original game's melee combat. If you're a fan of the original game, then you know exactly what we mean. The iconic Leon Kennedy roundhouse kick is back in action, baby. Whilst playing as Leon, you're able to daze foes with an epic roundhouse kick and then shoot them to finish them off. It's the amazing combat system that the original game had, but completely revamped. It's like the cherry on top of this already amazing game. Thank God they kept that kick, right? It was so iconic. Leon can now also parry enemies with his knife, as in the opening moments of the game, Leon clashes with a chainsaw. It might seem a little unrealistic, but this is Resident Evil, for God's sake. It's the franchise with a mass-murdering guy in sunglasses and a zombie apocalypse every other week. Who cares about a little bit of knife parrying, right? But the gameplay changes don't end there. One of the biggest changes to Resident Evil 4 involves the game's item systems. In the original game, Leon had his knife equipped at all times, as he could always swap it. However, just like in the two remakes prior to it, the Resident Evil 4 remake brings in a knife-breaking mechanic. The player's melee weapon can now break in battle, be stored, and can also be replaced with others. I guess it adds a little bit of an extra element of crafting and survivability, and we're all here for it. I mean, let's make this game harder, right? If you've played the original, you don't want a quick ride through the game. You might want to challenge. So this is amazing to see. The final gameplay change that we notice is that the original QuickTime events don't seem to be present. It's unclear why they removed these, but I guess gaming has changed. Players would rather enact these scenes out rather than just spam buttons to get away from a fight. We've all changed as gamers, and it looks like the Resident Evil 4 remake is adapting to that. Jesus, who would have thought, right? I guess all of that time in quarantine really made us better at games, didn't it? Thank God the industry is noticing. Speaking of noticing, the fan base has actually responded quite well to the game. It's one of those games that could go either way, as it's so iconic. The original Resident Evil 4 is regarded as one of the best video games of all time, so Capcom definitely had a lot on its plate, that's for sure. Honestly though, Capcom has done a fantastic job. The game has got high reviews from basically everywhere, and even broke the IGN 8.3 curse. Damn, that just shows you how great the game is. The gaming space has been in a bit of a stalemate for the past 2 years or so thank God this game broke the cycle, though IGN is of course a main main factor in a game's success. Many critics around the world have praised it. It really surpassed people's expectations, as they were expecting a pretty generic remake. The previous two games were amazing, but this might be the best one yet. The graphics, the story, and the overall gameplay tweaks are the best we've seen out of the latest 3 remakes. The Resident Evil 2 remake was the first one and did such a good job of reimagining the Resident Evil story. It completely changed the gameplay and set things off in a good direction. The Resident Evil 3 remake also tweaked a few things but didn't make too many changes. However, the Resident Evil 4 remake is where Capcom has truly broken into its own element. This remake is phenomenal. It's definitely the best one yet. Fans have also responded by taking to social media and talking about the game online. During its launch day, the game was of course trending on social media, with people calling its praises. They love the new gameplay changes, the story tweaks, and of course the fantastic graphics. These graphics are absolutely phenomenal. It looks like a 3D animated film at points.
Are you ready, rookie? Yeah, let's settle this.
Just look at those cutscenes. They look straight out of those 3D animated Resident Evil movies. It's just so amazing to see how far technology has gone when it comes to gaming. We were also extremely intrigued to see how the game's dialogue would change, as the original Resident Evil 4 came out all the way back in 2005. I mean, have you heard that dialogue? Some of the lines and jokes in the original were, let's say, a little bit out of touch by today's standards, so they needed a little bit of an update. Leon Kennedy was quite in the original version, so that's been changed for a modern-day audience. He no longer comments on Ada being a woman and annoying him, and he also treats Ashley with much more respect. Hell yeah. Moving with the times, are we, Capcom? We also don't really know anything that's changed just yet either, as the game has yet to be data mined. I mean, come on, the game has been out like a week. Let's give them some time. All we can say now is that the Resident Evil 4 remake is definitely worth your time and money, which is something people really need to hear nowadays. The game is $70 for God's sake. It better be worth it. Honestly, if you're a little bit skeptical, maybe wait for a sale or maybe go half with a friend. Either way though, this remake is completely worth it and is 1,000,000% the best one out of the Resident Evil franchise. We're excited to see where things go from here, as Resident Evil 5 is most likely the next one to be updated. So from the more fast-paced gameplay to the new and beautiful HD graphics, that was everything you should expect from the updated graphics and gameplay of the Resident Evil 4 remake. We hope you enjoyed it.